see our phones over there, can you?
No.
Hi, and welcome back to Truth, Health, and Wellness with Deborah and Matt St. John. We are excited to have you here tonight. We're going to have a great time together talking about health, nutrition, and all sorts of stuff in that vein. So if you have any questions, we are live. So on Facebook Live, you can message in there, or you can also call in on the number that'll be on your screen, and we will try our best to get your questions answered for you here live tonight. So Deborah and Matt, how are you? And tell us what you've been seeing this last week.
Well, we're really good. We're glad to be here. We had a really great holiday with our kids. It was nice to have a little time off.
Mm-hmm. Everyone stayed well. That was good.
That was great.
Yeah. It's been very busy. We went out and saw the Mennonites, visited with the Mennonites up in Indiana over the past weekend and week, and we've had some good family time. So it was really a good time.
Nice. Well, while you were in the office, what's some of the main things you've been seeing? Still the same as before, kind of, sort of, or
a little bit of everything.
Very, very busy. Very busy. Flu, a lot of flu, a lot of COVID, stomach stuff. It's all
stomach viruses. We have RSV, strep. A lot of really. We're even hearing about some unique viruses that people can't pinpoint. Had one lady reach out just here a few minutes ago, who has a daughter who has a lot of these strange symptoms, and they're all kind of viral, but they've literally had every test, including blood work, and even her white blood cell count was fine. So it's really interesting, the things that we're seeing right now.
Oh, wow.
But thankfully, a lot of people are coming to us because we had so much popularity during COVID,
Yeah.
with our protocol and everything. So we're very busy right now. I'll just say that.
Well, for everyone out there, again, you can call in live right now, or you can Facebook message any questions. Also, they are in their office most of the time, and if not, you can be reached on Facebook with questions at any time if we're not on the air, right? So,
Absolutely.
Absolutely, anytime.
Absolutely. We're open Monday through Saturday, 9:30 to 5:30. So we can be reached anytime there, and then there's somebody always there that can point you in the right direction.
The only days we close are for Christmas Day and for Thanksgiving Day, and then on Sundays. But otherwise, even on Sundays, people can ask us questions. They can reach out on Facebook and get help, during that time.
because I was telling someone over the holidays, I'm like, they weren't feeling well in a northwest state, and I'm like, you guys can message them on Facebook and they'll help you. They may not, it may be a different time zone, but yeah, so.
Yeah, we try.
Well, let's dive in. I had mentioned beforehand, I have a good friend. We were talking over the holidays about liver, our livers, how they function and everything, and especially for younger people nowadays, there seems to be an issue with a lot of people's livers having problems. This person is, I want to say, early 50s, late 40s. We had a good friend last year in their late 30s that passed away from it. And there was a beloved casting director on Grey's Anatomy with me he passed away really young from liver. So what is the gamut on that? What are people seeing? Medications, diet now that's causing it to go down. What can be done in the present? And then a mid-spectrum, and then a far-end spectrum as long as they aren't in the hospital on the way out yet. So.
Well, and first of all, you're basically talking about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
Yes, correct.
Mainly. And because there's so many different liver issues. And another thing to look at is our liver is our primary filter for our blood. And so toxins are going to be attacked and filtered out by the liver. The problem is that as we overtax our liver with multiple medications, with any type of environmental toxins, and doing that consistently over and over again, and then you start adding things like pesticides, herbicides, and other things in our food, preservatives that are also contributing to this fatty liver disease, you have a problem. So how many people? What percentage of people do you think right now we have coming to us that are actually alcoholics or actually consume alcohol who are having liver problems?
Oh, that's very, very few and far between.
Right. It's literally 70%.
It's non-alcoholic, a lot.
And you can even go over the charts and you can look, like, for example, we talk about glyphosate all the time, which is Roundup. We harp on it because it's so dangerous, so deadly, and it's still being used. You can still buy it in Walmart. The EPA pulled its approval of glyphosate last year, yet it's still on the shelves at Walmart right now. So it's a problem, but it's in our food, it's in our bodies, and the problem is that there's a concurrent increase of use of glyphosate by year, and as that increase occurs, there's been an increase in fatty liver disease in the country. You can look at the graphs and you can look at the charts. So something is going on, and it's not because people are drinking, obviously, because it's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and it's in children as much as it is in adults. And so that's because of the medications, it's because of the foods we're eating, it's because of the lifestyle. And there's certain things that you can do, like milk thistle. Milk thistle it has an active ingredient called silymarin, and silymarin is actually prescribed in Europe. Anytime they have a hepatotoxic drug, they'll prescribe silymarin along with it to help with the impact on the liver. Here they don't do that.
Does it cleanse it while you're taking the drug, or it cleans it after you've had the drug in your
During
system?
and after.
Okay.
It helps with the liver enzymes. And what happens, most people go to the doctor, and the doctor say, well, you have elevated liver enzymes. Be careful, because if you continue to have this, you'll have fatty liver disease. And so as people have that and as it increases, it's becoming more and more prevalent, more and more common. And it's something that's completely able to be completely eradicated. We've never had one case of someone who had non-alcoholic fatty liver disease that didn't have a complete remission.
Yeah, that came to us. Yeah.
Not one single person. And yet people are like living with this, and they're actually getting diagnosis of this, and then they're like losing their life insurance policy, their health insurance is going up, they're being dropped from their insurance because of this fatty liver disease that they can correct.
And are there any symptoms or anything that they might want to be on the lookout for if they're noticing something weird going on at an earlier stage?
Poor digestion, one of the things is this isn't a popular topic, is to look at your stool, but it is kind of important to look at your stool. And if it's light colored for extended periods of time, if it's not dark, if it looks basically like gray or like discolored for day after day and week after week, then that's something to definitely look into.
Okay.
The other thing is having pain over on that side. A lot of people have gallbladder pain too that they can't really differentiate between the two, but it's important to get those things checked out. Okay. It really is. And there's one other thing too, when you see people who are bloated, You know, they're not necessarily fat, but they're just, every time they eat, they just swell up like a balloon. A lot of those people are going to have, you know, fatty liver disease. It's just, it's kind of a common thing. And we're seeing it more and more with people who just eat normal diets. When I say normal diets, I mean a traditional fast food diet. They're going out, they're eating fast food, then they're getting bloated, and then they're getting distended, and then, you know, they're thinking that it's fat a lot of times, and it's not. We call it liver bloat.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you said milk thistle?
Milk thistle is milk thistle is a neat plant, and you actually use the seed from milk thistle to obtain the silymarin, and you can use milk thistle seed in capsule form, you can use it in liquid form. Also dandelion, little dandelions that grow. The dandelion root is really good for the liver
Don't
issues.
go pull it out of the backyard. But
Well, unless if you know who's been spraying or who hasn't been spraying, but dandelions, there's some neat stories about dandelions growing between the cracks in sidewalks and people who had kidney disease and liver disease.
Oh, wow.
I knew a medical doctor who actually was right beside St. John's Nutrition years ago, had kidney disease. He didn't really believe in what we did. And one day I walked out in front of our offices, and I showed him, I said, that dandelion's being really persistent between the cracks in our sidewalk. I said, there's not anybody that has kidney problems in there, is there? And he looked at me and he mumbled something and he went back in. Well, come to find out, he had actually, about 2 months after that, he died of renal failure.
wow.
The physician did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a little dandelion still growing in the crack.
Oh, wow.
You know, so it's really interesting to look at the at how our bodies adapt and how God puts these plants here for us for a reason.
Yeah.
A reason and a season, and He'll do it over and over again.
They say within 1 mile of you is every plant that you need to keep yourself healthy,
Wow.
like wherever you are.
What about us? We travel all the time.
I know.
That's really hard to do. It's like, I don't
You
know.
just pull a garden behind your car on,
Right.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
on a wagon. No.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to do, but still, there's a lot of old herbal folklore that talk about how when you live and work in an area that God will put the plants that you need in your vicinity. It's really neat.
That's fascinating, though, in itself. And like you said, the fact that God cares enough to do that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's right there. It is.
It's really interesting too at how many problems we have today. You know, we're trashing our livers, we're trashing our kidneys, our brains are toast, and in our stress level, our anxiety, our depression, our fear, all these different things. There are more plants for the things that I just mentioned on this earth than any other problems that there
Wow.
could be. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. There's so many things that, because God knew we were going to be fearful, that we were going to be have anxiety, that we were going to have stress, and all these different things, and He knew that we were also going to be poisoning ourselves, which we are today. So that's why we have the plants.
That is totally, that's a very good point with that. So I'm going to look at some of these other questions here. I'm just going to go back to one from a week ago. What are trans fats and saturated fats found in meats, dairy, and processed foods, and should I try to avoid any of these?
Trans fats are fats that are confused. They're just kidding. Trans fats are the bad fats. When we look at fats and we look at how our bodies basically use fats, one of the things is it'd be really great if we could use fat for energy. Because if we could use fat for energy, then we're not going to be fat. All of our fat will be used for energy. Now, I just told you a trick that they've been using since the 40s, and even before the 40s, and they call it a high protein diet. But what it really is it's a high protein, high fat diet with limited carbohydrates. And what happens when you're doing that over a period of time, as you limit the carbohydrates that you put in your body has no choice but to use fat for energy. So you're putting in fats instead of the carbohydrates. Well, as your body's using fats, normally good fats, not trans fats or saturated fats, but as you're using these fats for energy, your body has no choice but to use your existing stored body fat for fuel when you don't have any other fuel available. So like when you're eating, pasta, or you're eating whatever, sugar, you're consuming carbohydrates, all of that is what your body's trying to burn for energy, and then what's not used is spilled over into glucose and everything else. It spills over into fat eventually. So to get your body as healthy as you really need it to be, you should limit your carbohydrates to about the same amount as your proteins, and then just get a minimal amount of healthy fats. The healthy fats should come from sources, a little bit of lean chicken, a little bit of lean meats, but mainly your vegetable sources of fats. It's interesting, when we go down to Peru, a lot of the fruits that we consume down there have fats in the fruits.
Yeah,
Really?
They have oils. Yeah.
Imagine going and getting a banana and it having 5 grams of fat.
I would never have thought that.
Acai contains fat.
I didn't.
The reason that these fruits contain fat down in the Amazon is because of how robust the region is, and because of how many people there. They need to be able to pick the fruit and get something that will sustain them.
Right.
So they want satiety. You can't get satiety from just sugar, so they get it from the fats and the sugars, and some of them even have amino acids and proteins. You're talking about fruits,
Yeah.
like acai and guanabana and these others that'll actually have lipids or oils in the constituency of the fruit. And so we need good healthy fats. Guacamole, or I should say avocado. Instead of guacamole. You can tell how I eat guacamole. But eating the vegetables that have the fats is going to be a lot more effective. And a little bit of milk fat, a little bit of fat from different sources is a good thing. It's a healthy thing. But once again, ideally, we should be running on fat for fuel and try to stay away from the saturated. The saturated fats, the trans fats, that's what basically gives us heart disease. It is what contributes greatly toward, and they say it's cholesterol, but it's really not. These are inflammatory. And anything that's inflammatory that we consume in the body eventually will kill us. I mean, it'll start tearing us down.
Well,
All the inflammation.
that was a great question. Let's see. Could we go back to one? I know we had a caller just real quickly on the last show that we were not able to hear through my earpiece and talk about the dermatitis stuff that we were talking about.
On the skin, especially on the scalp, and what they were dealing with on the scalp. And dermatitis is a problem. Our skin, in natural medicine, we call our skin the third kidney a lot of times, because our kidneys are also filters. But when our kidneys can't really filter what all they need to filter, our skin will end up having acne. We'll end up having some sort of eczema or some sort of dermatitis, rash. But with this one, it's really interesting because people will try to overtreat these forms of dermatitis, and they'll try to topically treat it with things like tea tree oil and a lot of harsh, sometimes abrasive cleansers and things like that, and it causes more harm than good. Getting your body regulated, hormones are very important for most forms of dermatitis, and getting your hormones regulated, whether you be female or male, is extremely important. And then you get over into the sulfur-containing supplements like MSM, and MSM can help a lot. Even raw dietary sulfur can help. But you get into different types of treatments based on what the person's hormone level is and what their needs are. There's no one secret recipe, not one secret formula that you can give to people for a dermal condition normally. While we do things like evening primrose oil, we'll put like ladies on ladies balance, men on men's balance, to try and help with the hormones, there's no one single answer that you can normally go to. You have to deal with the individual, and also the individual's hygiene, because some people will undertreat it, and then some people will overtreat it. So that overtreating can end up being far worse than undertreating.
Just as much as the others.
Right.
Okay, that makes total sense. Well, let's see. Go for it. I've got a question from one of our callers here coming in.
Okay.
Dale, and what on the liver if tocotrienols are a better source of vitamin E for non-alcoholic fatty liver?
They're a great source. I mean, a mixed tocopherol, vitamin E, just make sure that it's not just DL-alpha tocopherol, which is the synthetic vitamin E. A mixed tocopherol will normally give you the most balance in the vitamin E's. We had somebody with a vitamin E question today or something about vitamin E. Vitamin E got a bad rap a few years ago because they basically came up with this weird study that said smokers who took vitamin E had a higher chance of getting lung cancer.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it is weird. It was a totally weird study. And it was a botched study, and it basically just scared a few people off of vitamin E. It didn't accomplish anything, but I'm not concerned with vitamin E. It's a very, very potent, very important antioxidant, and it's something that we need in our bodies. It's a vitamin for a reason. But yeah, the mixed tocopherol would be the best way to go.
Okay.
For that.
Hopefully that got that question answered. And again, for everyone out there, feel free to call in on the number on your screen with any questions you have, or Facebook message them in, and we will try our best to get those answered for you. And we're going to go to another question now. What can I do for a stomach virus besides just letting it take its course?
Oh, mercy. Well, the P77, doing something that has carvacrol, artemisia, the beta-pinene, hemp oil, a formula like that can really help out.
It's hard to want to do anything when you're having
stomach
vomiting,
problems.
nausea,
Right.
and a stomach virus.
So you have to be careful. You have to make sure that you dose yourself appropriately. And with P77, there's a strong taste on top of everything else. So you want to take it maybe with a little bit of ginger ale. Just try to nurse it as best you can. Stomach virus can be very, it can be debilitating. It can take forever. It seems like for those things to go away. And letting it run its course is one option, but we don't like to do that. We normally attack it with P77, and then probiotics also are
Right.
super important to be taking during the viral outbreaks that get the gut.
So take it during and then after
And
as well to
afterwards, yeah.
replace. Okay.
And also, you said, were you about to say ginger?
Yeah, ginger and ginger ale is we have to keep that around.
Yeah, ginger
for-
root, and we're not talking about ginger ale like the Schwelps or Schwaps or whatever. And there's another one, I think, I forget the brand, but we're talking about real ginger ale. There's a company called Reeds, R-E-E-D-S. Don't get the one with no sugar. It has a lot of erythritol, and that's not good for you. But the regular Reeds ginger ale is really good. Each bottle has 17 grams or 17,000 milligrams of ginger, fresh
wow.
ginger root per bottle. So they're pretty good to have around.
It
when you're-
really
Wow.
does.
Yeah. When you're sick and there's nothing else that you can keep on your stomach, it's a godsend.
And you're able to get that just at a normal grocery store, or does that come from a health food store, Reed's?
It's not going to come from a normal grocery store. I hate to advertise Publix or chain grocery stores, but Publix has it. Near us, a grocery store chain called Ingles has it. Kroger's have it. I think even Winn-Dixie might have them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so nationwide, so we would know if they needed to
Yeah.
go grocery store versus
Yeah.
middle tier or whatever. So that kind of helps.
And a lot of times, this is strange, a lot of times they'll actually keep them in with the more of the mixed drink section.
Okay.
Because people use them as like mixers or
Mixing,
something
yeah.
for some. But anyway, sometimes they'll
Okay.
be found there. That's and same thing with some of the other ginger ales, I think. But they'll have them at most of the grocery stores.
in that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this question, I wish I would have caught it a minute ago, kind of goes along with probably the dermatitis, but I'm having such a problem with psoriasis. I've tried various creams and even bleach. Can you help me with some suggestions as how to help clear the psoriasis up?
Psoriasis is rough, and there is a correlation. There's a lot of belief that the liver and the skin are directly involved in the immune system, of course, in with psoriasis. And so it's really interesting because as people have fatty liver disease or they have more of an elevated liver enzyme, they'll have outbreaks of psoriasis more commonly. As they have less stress and as they have more or less of their lives kind of more balanced, they'll have less psoriasis. It's exacerbated a lot of times by stress or by surgery or invasive procedures. Doing a nice liver cleanse or doing something with the milk thistle could help out a lot in many cases with psoriasis. There's something called evening primrose oil. It has something called gamma linoleic acid. It's an essential fatty acid.
Is it an oil or
It's
a
an
pill?
oil. Both. It's an oil
Okay.
in a capsule.
Okay.
Normally they'll do a soft gel, and it's a neat supplement for a lot of people with psoriasis because it can help out so much. But that's really good at helping with psoriasis, dealing with the liver. There are a lot of variables. You have to look at the individual. Sometimes an antiviral will help out. Sometimes it takes getting their diet really clean for quite a while before they can really see the results that they want to see. Psoriasis is interesting. It's an autoimmune disorder that comes out in the skin. So it's your skin thinking that it needs to basically repair the skin or build new skin, even though it doesn't. So it's just building skin on top of skin.
And with the evening primrose oil, I know you mentioned it could be either way. Do they actually could they actually rub that on it and it would help?
Yeah, you can
alleviate
rub it.
some of the itching and
Yeah, a
stuff?
lot of times.
Okay.
Yeah, we have some salves. We have a salve called Tommy Bass salve. It's pretty awesome. One man makes it on this earth, so it's kind of hard for us to keep
Tommy
in.
Bass.
He used to. He used to. It's Daryl Patton now. He wrote the book on Tommy Bass. But he makes the salve, and it's wonderful stuff. But it's really good at soothing the psoriasis outbreaks and eczema and anything else really dermal.
Okay. Well, let's go over here. Oh, this one sounds exciting. Why does melatonin give me weird dreams? What can I take naturally to help me sleep?
Wow, melatonin gives you weird dreams because you don't need melatonin.
That makes sense.
And what it amounts to is if you are a healthy individual who have a healthy pineal gland and everything's working like it's supposed to, and you take a melatonin supplement, you will have vivid dreams and possibly even nightmares. When you'll wake up not even realizing, or not even, it'll take you a minute to figure out whether or not it was a dream or not.
Oh, wow.
They're that vivid. And that's just a sign that you did not need the melatonin to begin with. It's that simple. People don't have a melatonin test before they start taking melatonin, but melatonin yet is a hormone. produced by the pineal gland. So, and we've gone into pineal gland, and we can go
Yes.
crazy with that one. But the main thing is with melatonin is that why would you want to supplement a hormone that you don't need for sleep when you could try so many different things that are far better and work better than the melatonin? So just take just take your herbal complexes. Do something that has the valerian, the chamomile, the hops, the passion flower, the skullcap, CBD.
Teas are neat.
Yeah,
for
teas.
sleep.
Yeah, at night, make yourself a nice little herbal tea and sit back and watch Andy Griffith, and all's well. And you don't really need, the melatonin. And so many people, and it's one of the problems has been kids who are born with Asperger's or autism will tend to have pineal gland deficiencies. They'll have damage to their pineal gland. And of course, we believe that's one of the main reasons they have autism to start with. But this damage to the pineal gland carries over to obviously their melatonin levels. And so they don't have the right level of melatonin in their body naturally. So supplementation of melatonin for them can work as a sleep aid for a lot of the autistic children or
Right.
Asperger's or even adults. The issue is that it's made people become really almost haphazard in their dosing. The studies that were done with melatonin were done at 1.5 milligrams. Okay, the doses they're giving some of these kids are like 10, 20,
Oh, wow.
30 milligrams.
Way too much.
Way too much. And the kids are going to have completely trashed pineal glands as a result of this. They're certainly not going to get better with any other aspect of their autism or Asperger's.
Wow.
And so we have a problem where a bunch of people are taking melatonin that don't need to be taking melatonin. Yes, you can go to St. John's Nutrition, and we do have some melatonin for the people that need it, but most people don't need it.
Okay. Wow. And like with the liver, pineal gland, is it repairable or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I believe so. The pineal gland is a tiny little pineapple-shaped gland in our body that is produced. It's a lot of controversy. But what's funny is, in school, do you ever remember hearing about the pituitary gland being the master gland? The pituitary gland is the master gland. It produces our hormones that produce HGH and luteinizing hormone, and which makes men have testosterone and women have their estrogen. The pituitary is the master gland, but it's not. It's really interesting because when you get into some extremely detailed science, you can find that the pineal gland sends messages to the pituitary gland and directs the pituitary gland. Now, who's the master gland if it's the one bossing the other one around?
Right.
So if the one that's sending the messages is the master gland, so I theorize that the master gland of the human body is actually the pineal gland. And Socrates sort of said the same thing, but that's another story. So it's really interesting when you start looking at the pineal gland, how important it is, and then how scary it is that probably 85% of the people watching us right now have crusty, calcified pineal glands.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Calcified pineal glands that are calcified so heavily that if they were to have an x-ray on their brain, they'll be able to take that pineal gland and use it as a guide. The brain surgeon can use it as a guide to move around their brain and know where they are.
Because it's so calcified.
Because it's so calcified. That's what fluoridation to our water has done for our country and for our world. And it's been very intentional. COVID, for example, it was designed to affect the pineal gland. It's very interesting to start looking at the pineal gland and why they would want, whoever they are, would want to disrupt it or have it inert. But I can tell you this, you will not find a person who's spiritual, who has a spiritual life, who has an active spirituality to them, who has a pineal gland that's not working properly.
Right.
In other words, they're going to have a good pineal gland every time.
Wow. That's just a whole wealth of information there. I'm almost good for the night, but
Yeah.
let's try. We've only got a couple minutes left here. Let's try to squeeze in one more question here. What is your favorite supplement to take personally?
Oh
Both,
my-
each of you. Do we have time for that?
What's yours?
Mine's probably the environmental defense system,
Why?
because I know that I'm getting things on a regular basis that I shouldn't be eating or getting in my body, and it makes me feel better. It helps me feel cleaner. It gives me a little more peace about what I'm eating and drinking and smelling. So it gives me like a little less stress in life, knowing that I'm getting this stuff out.
Yeah. Mine's probably Test Boost because it increases my testosterone so that I can keep up with my wife.
Well, is there anything else for this upcoming week you want to recommend for the viewers out there that, like, in general, just to keep going right now with everything that's going on out there, that if they're not looking at taking it just as a barrier to keep them clean for the moment at least, or cleared?
It'd be really good for folks to go out and get a good quality vitamin C supplement like the Ultra C and the P77. I think that if every home right now were to have some vitamin C and some P77, especially they were to have a little elderberry on hand too, that would be they would have a fortress of a home and a fortress of an immune system. It's working. This formula is working so well for these viruses that are going around that it's just a no-brainer.
Okay.
Well, at the first notice of anything weird, you should take it. You
Yeah.
know, the first little scratch in your throat, the first little itch
Swollen
in your
lymph
eye.
nodes. When
you
those
know,
things get swollen, start taking.
the faster the better. You know, it'll knock stuff out so fast if you get started on it fast.
And you can also even you can cut off these sinus infections and things by using like the nasal rinse pots, what they call neti pots. And if you take a neti pot, put your warm saline, use distilled water, and put a drop or two, just a drop or two of the P77 in it, and run it through your sinuses, it will help a lot in those patches
wow.
of infection. And so that can just speed things up so much for people.
Okay, I would not have thought of that. That's a very good point. So,
Yeah.
so for everyone out there, we want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we will be back here next Thursday night live at 7. So if you've got questions, anything, send them in via Facebook, call, however you want to get those in. We'll be glad to try to get them answered. We want to thank y'all for taking the time to answer the questions tonight. And again, we will see everyone next week. We hope you have a great night, and thanks for joining us.